Hello and a very warm welcome to the English Story Nook. We are so glad you could join us for today's story. Today, we're diving into a story about a fascinating and strange future. Get ready to discover a world where a company can design and sell emotions, and a woman's job is to create perfect grief for her clients. We will explore what happens when technology meets the most human parts of our soul. Before we begin, if you enjoy our stories and want to help us create more, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the English Story Nook. If you'd like to support us further, you can buy us a coffee using the link in the description below. Every bit of support means the world to us and helps our community grow. And now to the story. Grief sold well this quarter. The quarterly performance review glowed on Maria Pana's screen, its title a stark summary of her professional life. Grief sold well this quarter. As a senior grief architect at Oma Sonar Solutions, her job was to design and sell emotional experiences. She crafted sorrow for the stoic, regret for the unapologetic, and closure for those who had never even had a beginning. The company's services were ubiquitous, a silent partner in every funeral, memorial, and public apology. Yet, despite her success, a persistent hum of dissonance echoed in her mind. She felt inundated not by the workload, but by the profound artificiality of it all. Her job was the ultimate commodification of the human soul, and business was booming. Her latest assignment was the source of her growing unease. Vivian Silvera, a charismatic tech mogul, needed to display public grief for his estranged father. He hadn't spoken to the man in 2 decades, but his brand depended on an image of relatable humanity. The order was specific, a Tier 4 catharsis package, Noble Sorrow. It was one of their most expensive and lucrative products. Maria's task was to use a blend of neurostimulation and augmented reality to produce a convincing, dignified performance of grief. The initial consultation was chilling. Vivian, with his perfectly tailored suit and impassive face, discussed his father's death as if he were negotiating a business deal. "I just need it to be effective," he stated, his voice devoid of warmth. "I have a product launch next month, and the optics need to be right." He wasn't a man seeking comfort. He was a customer demanding a product. The meeting solidified the dissonance in Maria's heart into a sharp, painful ache. Back at the Oma Sonar Tower, Maria began the design process. She was inundated with terabytes of Vivian's life data. The company's algorithmic models processed everything: social media, private messages, biometric readings, to predict his emotional responses with terrifying accuracy. Her boss, Maybe Klein, a man whose smile never quite reached his eyes, checked in on her progress. "Vivian Silvera is a huge account, Maria. A flawless execution will reinforce our market dominance," he said, his tone leaving no room for error. "Remember, our clients pay for predictable, clean emotions, no surprises." He wanted a perfunctory execution of the agreed-upon emotional arc, a script to be followed without deviation. Maria worked for days, her actions feeling increasingly perfunctory as she dragged and dropped emotional cues into the timeline. She and her colleague, Annie Yo, often spoke about the strangeness of their jobs over lunch. "If we don't sell it to them, someone else will," Annie would say with a shrug. "At least our designs are elegant." But Maria was tired of elegance. She felt a growing urge to subvert the entire process. While digging through Vivian's deep archive data, she found something the primary algorithmic scans had dismissed as irrelevant: a faded photograph of a young Vivian on a fishing trip with his father, both of them beaming with genuine joy. It was a moment of unfiltered happiness, a relic from a time before their relationship had fractured. It was real. This discovery became the midpoint of her crisis. During a simulation, Instead of triggering the pre-approved memory of a dignified family dinner, Maria impulsively inserted the fishing trip photo into the neuro feed. On the other side of the glass, Vivian's composed expression suddenly broke. For a single, unguarded second, his eyes filled with a raw, chaotic pain that was anything but noble. It was a messy, authentic, and powerful flicker of emotion. It was a genuine catharsis, not the manufactured one he had paid for. Maria knew she had crossed a line. She had seen the potential to subvert the sterile, predictable system her company had perfected. Maybe Klein was furious. He had reviewed the simulation's biometric data. "What was that?" he demanded, his voice dangerously calm. That was not the product. That was an unauthorized emotional event. Our reputation is built on control, on meticulously crafted experiences. We are not in the business of surprises. He warned her that any further deviation would be a breach of contract, not just with the client, but with Omasanar Solutions itself. Stick to the script, Maria. The process is meticulously designed for a reason. Don't forget how lucrative this account is. Annie later pulled her aside, her face etched with concern. He's right, you know. It's not our place to force a real catharsis. Just give the man what he paid for. The day of the memorial arrived. The event was being broadcast globally. Vivian stood on a minimalist stage, a portrait of his father projected behind him. In a control room miles away, Maria sat before her console, 2 programs ready to launch. One was Noble Sorrow, the company-approved package of dignified glances, and a single, perfectly timed tear. The other was her own creation, built around the fishing trip and other fragments of genuine connection she had unearthed. Her finger hovered over the activation button. This was the ultimate expression of the commodification of feeling, a choice between a profitable lie and an unsellable truth. She looked at Vivian's face on the high-definition monitor. He looked empty, a vessel waiting to be filled with feelings that weren't his. She thought about the ephemeral nature of Omasanar's products, emotions that faded as soon as the neurostimulators were turned off. What was the point of an emotion if it left no trace? In that final second, she made her choice. She launched her own program. On stage, Vivian's polished facade didn't just crack, it shattered. He stumbled back from the podium, his breath catching in his throat. He didn't perform sorrow, he was consumed by it. He wept with the raw, complex grief of a son who had lost his father twice, once to silence and now to death. The feed descended into chaos. The aftermath was messy. Omasanar Solutions stock dipped. Pundits debated the shocking display. Maria was fired before she even had a chance to log out of her system. As she packed her belongings into a small box, she didn't feel regret. Instead, a profound sense of relief washed over her, a feeling more real than any simulation she had ever designed. It was her own, authentic catharsis. Walking out of the gleaming tower for the last time, she felt a vibration in her pocket. It was an anonymous, encrypted message. It contained only 2 words. Thank you. The future was uncertain, and the victory was perhaps ephemeral. But in a world where everything was for sale, she had refused to set a price on a man's soul. She had chosen to fight the ubiquitous system, and for the first time in a long time, she felt genuinely human. That's the end of our story for today. It certainly gives us a lot to think about. What are your thoughts on a world where emotions can be bought? We would love to read your ideas in the comments section. Remember to check the description box for helpful resources to continue your practice. Thank you for listening and learning with us today. Keep up the wonderful work with your English studies, and we look forward to seeing you in our next story. Goodbye for now.